Captain Jake Martinez stood at the large window of the observation deck. His hands rested on the metal rail as he watched the vast emptiness of space. Around him, dozens of alien beings chatted and pointed at the distant fleets. Their voices mixed together in a strange symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic sounds. The observation ship called Infinite Witness was huge. It held representatives from 43 different species. They had all come to watch what everyone believed would be the biggest battle in 100 years. Jake felt small among these ancient races. Humans had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago. "Look at those formations," said a tall, blue-skinned Altarian beside him. Its voice came through a translator device. "The Zephyrians are using their classic crystal arrangement. Very traditional." Jake nodded but said nothing. He watched the two massive fleets face each other across the dark void. On one side, the Zephyrian ships looked like floating diamonds. They caught and reflected starlight in beautiful patterns. On the other side, the Krilltalk vessels resembled giant beetles. Their black armor absorbed light and made them look like holes in space. Behind Jake, Admiral Lisa Thompson walked among the observers. She wore the simple blue uniform of the Human Diplomatic Service. Her gray hair was tied back in a neat bun. She moved quietly, listening to conversations and taking mental notes. "Admiral," Jake said as she approached. "Any word from Earth?" Lisa checked her small communication device. "The Galactic Council has made their position clear. This is a contained conflict. All neutral parties must stay at least 50,000 kilometers away." Jake looked back at the fleets. "How many ships are out there?" "Our sensors count 3,000 Zephyrian vessels and 4,000 Krilltalk ships," Lisa replied. "Both sides have been building up for this battle for 2 years. Around them, aliens placed bets on the outcome." A group of insect-like Hectori clicked excitedly as they discussed odds. Most seemed to favor the Krilltalk Empire. Their recent victories had impressed many species. "The Krilltalk have superior numbers," explained Dr. Helen Wade, the human ship's chief scientist. She had joined Jake and Lisa at the window. "But the Zephyrians have better technology. Their energy weapons can cut through almost anything." Jake watched a small alien creature with 6 arms gesturing wildly. It spoke in rapid bursts to a crowd of listeners. The translator picked up fragments. "Historical significance," and "final decisive moment." "They're treating this like entertainment," Jake muttered. Lisa's expression remained neutral. "Different species have different views on warfare. Many of these races have been fighting for thousands of years. To them, war is just another form of politics." The human ship New Horizon floated nearby. It was much smaller than the observation vessel. Where the Infinite Witness was built for comfort and diplomacy, the New Horizon was practical. Its gray hull held diplomatic offices, living quarters, and a small medical bay. Commander Alex Rivera appeared on the observation deck. His dark eyes looked worried. He carried a data tablet and moved quickly through the crowd toward Lisa. "Admiral, we have a problem," Alex said quietly. Long-range sensors detected something the other observers missed. Lisa took the tablet and studied the screen. Jake leaned in to look. The display showed the battle area and surrounding space. Red dots marked the 2 fleets. But there was something else. A cluster of green dots moving slowly through the area. "What am I looking at?" Lisa asked. "A refugee convoy," Alex replied. 3 different species fleeing the war zones. 57 ships carrying civilians. They're trying to reach the neutral space station at Kepler 7. Jake felt his stomach tighten. "How close are they to the battle?" "Too close," Alex said. "They're using this route because it's supposed to be safe. The Galactic Council promised to keep military actions away from civilian traffic lanes." Lisa studied the display more carefully. The refugee convoy was moving slowly through space about 30,000 kilometers from where the 2 fleets faced each other. The civilian ships looked tiny compared to the military vessels. "Have either fleet noticed them?" Lisa asked. "We don't think so," Alex replied. "Both sides are focused on each other. The refugees are running silent to avoid detection." Around them, the alien observers continued their discussions. A group of crystalline beings that looked similar to the Zephyrians debated battle tactics. Their voices sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "The energy discharge from a full battle will spread far beyond the immediate area," Dr. Helen said. She had been listening to their conversation. "Those refugee ships won't survive if they get caught in the crossfire." Jake looked at the distant fleets again. Both sides had spent years preparing for this moment. Thousands of ships, millions of lives, all focused on destroying each other. The idea that they might even notice a few dozen civilian vessels seemed unlikely. "Can we contact the convoy?" Jake asked. "Their communications are offline," Alex replied. "Standard refugee protocol. They don't want to risk being detected by hostile forces." Lisa handed the tablet back to Alex. "What about the fleet commanders? Can we warn them?" "We can try," Alex said. "But both sides have declared this a fight to the death. They might not care about civilian casualties." The aliens around them continued to treat the situation like a sporting event. Jake heard one group discussing the historical importance of the battle. Another debated which weapons would prove most effective. "Look," Dr. Helen pointed toward the Zephyrian fleet. "They're beginning to charge their crystal formations." Far in the distance, the diamond-shaped ships began to glow. Soft blue light spread from ship to ship as they connected their energy systems. The sight was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The Krilltalk fleet responded by forming attack patterns. Their beetle-shaped vessels moved into tight formations. Weapon ports opened along their dark hulls like glowing eyes. "Estimated time until battle begins?" Lisa asked. Alex checked his tablet. 23 minutes. And the refugee convoy? At their current speed, they'll be directly in the danger zone when fighting starts. Jake felt helpless as he watched the situation develop. The two massive fleets prepared to destroy each other. Thousands of civilian refugees moved unknowingly toward disaster, and hundreds of alien observers waited excitedly for the entertainment to begin. "Admiral," Jake said quietly, "we have to do something." Lisa looked at him with serious eyes. "Captain, we're diplomatic observers. We have no authority to interfere in galactic conflicts, but those are innocent people out there." "I know," Lisa replied, "but sometimes there's nothing we can do." Jake turned back to the window. In the distance, both fleets continued their preparations. The Zephyrian ships grew brighter as more energy flowed through their crystal networks. The Krilltalk vessels moved like a dark swarm preparing to strike. And somewhere between them, 57 refugee ships carried thousands of civilians toward what might be their final destination. The first shots lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Jake watched from the observation deck as the Zephyrian crystal formations unleashed beams of pure energy. The light was so bright that the viewing windows automatically dimmed to protect everyone's eyes. The alien observers cheered and made excited sounds. A group of tall, green creatures with multiple eyes recorded everything on advanced devices. Near them, short, furry beings that looked like walking carpets placed new bets on battle outcomes. "Beautiful technique," commented the blue-skinned Altarian, standing next to Jake. "See how they focus the energy through 3 crystal points before firing? Very efficient." The Krilltalk fleet responded with their own weapons. Dark red beams shot from their beetle-shaped ships. Where the Zephyrian attacks looked like controlled lightning, the Krilltalk weapons appeared more brutal and raw. Admiral Lisa Thompson stood nearby, watching the battle through electronic binoculars. Commander Alex Rivera checked his tablet constantly, monitoring both the fighting and the refugee convoy that nobody else seemed to notice. "First blood goes to the Zephyrians," announced a mechanical voice from the ship's speakers. It belonged to one of the robotic species that served as neutral observers. 3 Krilltalk destroyers have been disabled. The crowd of aliens reacted with various sounds of approval and disappointment. Jake noticed that many species seemed to enjoy watching others fight. It reminded him of ancient Roman gladiator games, except these gladiators commanded 1,000-meter-long warships. The battle continued with what the aliens called typical galactic warfare. Both fleets moved in careful formations. They exchanged shots at long range, testing each other's defenses. Ships would fire, retreat, and reposition. It looked almost like a dance, but Jake knew that each exchange meant hundreds of lives lost. "The Krilltalk are using swarm tactics now," Dr. Helen Wade observed. She had joined the group at the viewing window. "Their smaller ships are trying to get close to the Zephyrian formations." Jake watched as groups of dark Krilltalk fighters moved forward. They looked like insects swarming around bright flowers. The Zephyrian ships rotated to keep their crystal formations pointed at the attackers. "Clever," said an alien with tentacles instead of arms. "If they can break the crystal connections, the Zephyrians lose their main advantage." But something went wrong with the careful dance of battle. A large Krilltalk ship, one of their dreadnoughts, took several direct hits from Zephyrian energy beams. Explosions bloomed along its dark hull. The massive vessel began to drift away from its formation. "That dreadnought is losing power," Alex reported, checking his sensors. "Its engines are failing." Jake watched the damaged ship spin slowly through space. It was huge, probably carrying thousands of crew members. Smoke and debris trailed behind it as it moved away from the battle. "Where is it heading?" Lisa asked. Alex's face went pale as he checked his calculations. "Toward the refugee convoy." The drifting dreadnought was not just moving randomly. Its damaged systems were pulling it in the exact direction where the civilian ships traveled through space. Jake felt his heart sink as he realized what would happen. "How long until impact?" Lisa asked. 14 minutes at current drift speed," Alex replied. "But that's not the worst part." "What do you mean?" Alex showed his tablet to the group. "The dreadnought's weapons are damaged but still firing. They're shooting randomly in all directions. Some of those shots are heading straight for the refugee ships." Jake looked back at the battle. The main fleets were still fighting, completely focused on destroying each other. Neither side seemed to notice the drifting ship or the civilians in danger. The alien observers continued to enjoy the show. A group of beings that looked like walking crystals discussed the tactical implications of losing a dreadnought. They spoke about it like losing a chess piece, not considering the lives involved. "Can we contact the refugee convoy now?" Jake asked. Still no response, Alex replied. "They're maintaining communication silence." "What about the fleet commanders?" Lisa tried opening communication channels to both fleets. The first response came from the Zephyrian admiral, a being of pure crystalline structure whose voice sounded like singing glass. "Human vessel, you will maintain your distance. This is a sanctioned conflict. Any interference will be considered an act of war." The Krilltalk response was even shorter. Their commander's voice came through as harsh clicking sounds that the translator converted to words. "Weak species should not speak during the hunt. Stay silent or become prey." Jake felt frustrated and angry. They don't care about the civilians at all. "Different species have different values," Dr. Helen said quietly. "Many galactic races see individual lives as less important than military objectives." On the viewing screens, the battle continued to develop. The Zephyrians were winning the long-range fight, but the Krilltalk had managed to get several swarm groups close to their formations. Both sides were taking heavy losses. The damaged dreadnought kept drifting toward the refugee convoy. Its random weapon fire was getting closer to the civilian ships. Jake could see on Alex's tablet that several energy bolts had already passed within a few hundred meters of the refugees. 11 minutes until the dreadnought reaches the convoy," Alex reported. But then something even worse happened. The Zephyrian fleet noticed the drifting enemy ship. They saw an opportunity to destroy a major Krilltalk vessel that couldn't defend itself properly. "They're redirecting their main formation," Dr. Helen observed. "Look at how the crystal ships are turning." 6 of the largest Zephyrian vessels began to move toward the damaged dreadnought. Their crystal formations glowed brighter as they prepared for a massive energy attack. "Oh no," Alex said, staring at his calculations. "If they fire their full power at the dreadnought—" "What?" Lisa asked. "The energy explosion will be huge. It'll destroy everything within 10,000 kilometers." Jake felt sick as he understood what Alex meant. The Zephyrians were about to fire enough energy to completely destroy the Krilltalk dreadnought. But the refugee convoy was close enough to the target that the explosion would kill them too. "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. Alex checked his tablet again. "The Zephyrians will be in firing position in 8 minutes. The energy blast will reach the refugee convoy 30 seconds after they fire." Around them, the alien observers got more excited as they realized what was about to happen. Some species found the idea of a massive energy explosion particularly entertaining. "This will be spectacular," said the blue-skinned Altarian. "A full crystal formation firing at maximum power. We may never see anything like this again." Jake wanted to grab the alien and shake it. These beings were talking about a beautiful light show while thousands of innocent people were about to die. The refugees had no idea what was coming. They couldn't defend themselves or escape. "We have to do something," Jake said again. Lisa looked at him with tired eyes. "Captain, we've already tried contacting everyone involved. No one wants to listen to us. Then we stop talking and start acting." "Jake," Lisa said carefully, "we're a diplomatic vessel. We have no weapons. We can't fight either of those fleets. But we can't just watch those people die." Commander Alex Rivera looked up from his tablet. His face showed the same frustration that Jake felt. Admiral, there might be something we can do. What do you mean? Our ship has an experimental quantum drive. If we use it properly, we might be able to create a space distortion. It could push the dreadnought away from the convoy. Dr. Helen shook her head. That's incredibly dangerous. The quantum drive has never been tested in combat conditions. It could tear our ship apart. What are our chances of success? Lisa asked. Alex thought for a moment. Maybe 30%, and that's being optimistic. And if we do nothing, those refugees die in 7 minutes. Lisa stared out at the battle. The Zephyrian ships were almost in position for their massive attack. The refugee convoy continued moving slowly toward disaster, unaware of what was coming. Around them, aliens continued to place bets and make excited observations about the upcoming explosion. To them, this was entertainment. To the humans, it was a nightmare about to happen. Admiral Lisa Thompson called an emergency meeting in the New Horizons Command Center. The room was small and practical, with gray walls and simple controls. 5 humans gathered around a central table while alarms quietly beeped in the background. Captain Jake Martinez sat across from Commander Alex Rivera. Dr. Helen Wade pulled up technical displays on her portable computer. Lieutenant Ben Cooper, the ship's communications officer, monitored all frequencies for any changes in the battle situation. 6 minutes until the Zephyrians fire, Alex announced, checking his tablet. The refugee convoy is still moving toward the impact zone. Lisa looked at each person in the room. I need options. Real options, not wishful thinking. Dr. Helen spoke first. The quantum drive creates a bubble of altered space-time around our ship. If we position ourselves correctly, we might be able to push the drifting dreadnought away from the convoy. Explain the risks, Lisa said. Helen's fingers moved across her computer screen, bringing up technical diagrams. The drive was designed for faster-than-light travel, not for moving other objects. Using it this way could cause several problems, such as the space distortion might tear our hull apart, or it could create a feedback loop that destroys our engine core, or it might work perfectly and just kill us all from radiation exposure. Jake leaned forward. What about the refugee ships? Would they be safe? If it works, yes, Helen replied. The dreadnought would be pushed away from their flight path. The Zephyrian energy blast would miss them completely. And if it doesn't work, we die and the refugees die anyway. Lieutenant Cooper looked up from his communication console. Admiral, I'm still trying to reach both fleet commanders. Neither side is responding to our warnings about the civilians. Lisa activated her own communication device and tried a direct approach. She opened a channel to the Zephyrian formation leader. Zephyrian Command, this is Admiral Thompson of the human vessel New Horizon. We have detected civilian refugees in your target area. Please delay your attack. The response came quickly. The crystalline voice sounded cold and mechanical. Human vessel, civilian casualties are acceptable when pursuing military objectives. We will not delay our attack for inferior species. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. Inferior species? Lisa tried the Krilltalk fleet next. Krilltalk Command, civilian refugees are about to be caught in your battle zone. Can you assist with evacuation? The Krilltalk commander's voice came through as harsh clicking. Weak creatures deserve their fate. The strong survive, the weak feed the void. They don't care, Jake said. Neither side cares about innocent lives. Alex checked his tablet again. 5 minutes until the Zephyrians reach firing position. Lisa stood up and walked to the small window that showed the distant battle. Bright flashes of energy continued to light up space as the two fleets destroyed each other. The drifting dreadnought looked like a dark tumor against the starfield, slowly spinning toward the invisible refugee convoy. Commander Rivera, Lisa said without turning around. Explain your plan in detail. Alex activated the room's main display screen. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the battle area. Red dots marked the two fleets. A black dot represented the damaged dreadnought, and green dots showed the refugee convoy. We position our ship here. Alex pointed to a spot between the dreadnought and the refugees. Then we activate the quantum drive at maximum power. The space distortion should push the Krilltalk ship away from the convoy. How close do we need to get? Lisa asked. Within 2 kilometers of the dreadnought. Dr. Helen shook her head. That puts us right in the middle of the Zephyrian firing solution. When they shoot at the dreadnought, they'll hit us too. I know, Alex replied. But it's the only way to generate enough force to move something that massive. Jake studied the display. What about after we push the dreadnought? Do we have time to escape? Probably not, Alex admitted. The quantum drive takes 30 seconds to activate. The Zephyrians will fire before we can move away. So this is a suicide mission, Jake said. Most likely. Lisa turned back to face the group. Her gray hair was perfectly neat, but her eyes showed the weight of command. Are there any other options? Lieutenant Cooper spoke up. We could try ramming the dreadnought ourselves. Use our ship as a battering ram to change its course. That would definitely be suicide, Dr. Helen said, and our ship isn't large enough to significantly alter the dreadnought's path. What about calling for help? Jake asked. Are there any other neutral ships in the area? I've checked, Cooper replied. The nearest non-combatant vessel is 6 hours away. We're the only ship close enough to make a difference. Alex looked at his tablet. 4 minutes until the Zephyrians fire. Lisa sat back down at the table. The room became very quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines and the distant sound of communication chatter from the battle. Let me make sure I understand, Lisa said slowly. If we do nothing, approximately 50,000 civilian refugees die in 4 minutes. Correct, Alex confirmed. If we attempt the quantum drive maneuver, we probably die. But the refugees might survive. That's accurate, and there's no other choice. None that I can see, Alex replied. Jake looked around the table at his fellow humans. They were all young people who had volunteered for diplomatic service. They had joined the human space program to explore the galaxy and build relationships with alien species. None of them had expected to face a choice between their own lives and the lives of strangers. I have to ask, Lisa said, does anyone object to attempting the rescue? Dr. Helen raised her hand slightly. I object to the plan because it's dangerous and might not work. But I don't object to trying to save those people. Cooper? I'm in, Admiral. Rivera? It was my idea. I'm definitely in. Captain Martinez? Jake thought about the refugee convoy. 57 ships full of families, children, elderly people. They were fleeing war zones looking for safety. They had no weapons, no shields, no way to defend themselves. In a few minutes, they would be vaporized by weapons fire and the galaxy wouldn't even notice. Those are innocent people, Jake said. If we don't help them, who will? Lisa nodded slowly. Then we're agreed. Alex checked his tablet. 3 minutes until firing position. How long to reach the dreadnought? Lisa asked. 2 minutes at maximum speed. That gives us 1 minute to set up the quantum drive. Dr. Helen was already working on her computer. I'm preparing the drive systems now. Everyone needs to strap in. If this works, the space distortion will shake us apart. Lisa activated the ship's internal communication system. All crew, this is the Admiral. Prepare for emergency maneuvers. Secure all equipment and report to emergency stations. Through the command center's small window, Jake could see the distant flashes of the ongoing battle. Somewhere out there, refugee ships moved through the darkness, unaware that their lives depended on the decisions being made in this small room. Are we really doing this? Lieutenant Cooper asked. Yes, Lisa replied firmly. We're really doing this. Alex stood up from the table. Admiral, I recommend that you stay here and coordinate. Let me pilot the ship for this maneuver. Negative, Commander. This is my decision and my responsibility. But Admiral, no discussion. It's my ship and my choice. Jake felt a strange sense of calm settling over him. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else. Purpose, maybe. Or just the simple knowledge that they were doing the right thing. 2 minutes, Alex announced. Lisa moved toward the command chair. All stations prepare for combat acceleration. The New Horizon shot away from the observation fleet like a bullet. Admiral Lisa Thompson gripped her command chair as the ship accelerated toward the battle zone. Around her, the crew worked at their stations with focused determination. Behind them, chaos erupted aboard the Infinite Witness. Alien diplomats shouted in dozens of languages as they watched the human ship break formation. Emergency lights flashed while species representatives demanded explanations from each other. The humans have gone insane, declared the blue-skinned Altarian. Ambassador, this violates every galactic law about neutral observation, added a robotic delegate. But the humans were no longer listening to galactic law. 30 seconds to intercept position, Commander Alex Rivera announced from his navigation station. The New Horizon shook as it pushed through the edge of the battle zone, Energy beams from the main fleet streaked past the ship's hull. A Zephyrian blast came so close that the lights flickered. A Krilltalk plasma bolt barely missed their port side. "Both fleets are targeting us," Lieutenant Ben Cooper reported from communications. "I'm receiving warning signals from multiple ships." "Ignore them," Lisa ordered. She watched the tactical display as they approached the drifting dreadnought. The massive Krilltalk ship filled their view screen, its dark hull scarred by battle damage. Dr. Helen Wade worked frantically at her engineering console. Quantum drive is charging. Power levels at 60% and rising. The ship lurched as another energy blast passed nearby. Through the view screen, Jake Martinez could see the 6 Zephyrian vessels moving into their final attack position. Their crystal formations glowed brighter than small suns. "Admiral," Cooper called out, "the Zephyrian formation leader is demanding that we withdraw immediately. Tell them we're conducting a humanitarian rescue." Lisa replied, "They say humanitarian concerns don't apply during sanctioned warfare. Then tell them to go to hell." Alex smiled despite their desperate situation. "Admiral, we're in position, ready to activate quantum drive." Lisa opened a communication channel to all frequencies. Her voice would be heard by both fleets, the observation ships, and hopefully by any refugees who might be listening. "This is Admiral Thompson of the human vessel New Horizon. We are conducting emergency civilian evacuation procedures. All vessels be advised that civilian refugees are present in this battle zone." The response from the Zephyrian commander came immediately. "Human vessel, you have violated galactic law. Withdraw or face destruction." The Krilltalk fleet leader was even more direct. "Small ship, you smell of fear. Run now or become prey. Quantum drive at 90%, Dr. Helen announced. On the tactical display, Jake watched the Zephyrian formation reach optimal firing position. The 6 crystal ships aligned their energy systems, preparing for the massive blast that would destroy the dreadnought and everything near it. "Here they come," Alex said quietly. The Zephyrian ships began to glow with deadly beauty. Energy flowed between their crystal formations like liquid light. The power buildup would take 15 seconds to reach firing intensity. "Quantum drive ready," Helen announced. "Activate," Lisa ordered. The universe went insane around them. The New Horizon disappeared inside a bubble of twisted space-time that bent light and stretched reality. Jake felt like he was being pulled apart and compressed at the same time. The ship's hull groaned under stresses that metal was never meant to endure. But it worked. The space distortion expanded outward from their ship like an invisible wave. When it hit the drifting dreadnought, the massive vessel lurched sideways as if kicked by a giant foot. Its slow drift toward the refugee convoy changed into rapid movement away from the civilian ships. "It's working," Alex shouted over the noise of tortured metal and screaming electronics. The Zephyrian formation fired at that exact moment. 6 beams of pure energy converged on the space where the dreadnought had been, but the massive ship was no longer there. Instead, the energy blast struck empty space, creating a brief star that lit up half the battle zone. The refugee convoy was safe, but the New Horizon was not. "Quantum drive overloading," Helen called out. "I'm shutting it down." The ship dropped back into normal space just as 3 Zephyrian cruisers turned their weapons toward the humans. The crystalline beings interpreted the human action as an attack on their battle plan. "Incoming fire," Cooper announced. Energy beams lanced toward the small human ship. Alex threw the New Horizon into a desperate evasive pattern, using every trick he had learned in flight training. The ship twisted and spun through space, barely avoiding destruction. "They're trying to kill us," Jake said. "Can't say I blame them," Lisa replied grimly. "We just interfered with their perfect shot." More ships turned toward them. Several Krilltalk vessels decided that any ship brave enough to enter a battle zone might be worth fighting. Dark plasma bolts joined the crystal energy beams trying to destroy the humans. What happened next shocked every observer in the galaxy. Instead of running or surrendering, the New Horizon fought back. Alex used the ship's small size to advantage, diving between larger vessels and using them as shields. When a Krilltalk destroyer tried to ram them, he accelerated at the last second and scraped along its hull, damaging both ships but surviving the encounter. Dr. Helen jury-rigged their defensive systems for maximum output. She redirected power from life support and artificial gravity to strengthen their shields. When that wasn't enough, she started overloading equipment on purpose. "Helen, what are you doing?" Lisa asked as sparks flew from multiple consoles. "Turning our communication array into a weapon," Helen replied, her hands flying over controls. If I can create a focused electromagnetic pulse. A Zephyrian cruiser moved to intercept them, its crystal weapons charged for a killing shot. Helen finished her modifications and triggered the improvised weapon. The electromagnetic pulse hit the alien ship like an invisible hammer. Every electronic system on the cruiser died at once. The beautiful crystal formation went dark as the ship drifted helplessly through space. "How did you do that?" Alex asked. "I overloaded our entire communication system and focused the energy burst," Helen explained. "We can't talk to anyone now, but that ship won't be shooting at us either." Two more Zephyrian vessels approached from different angles. The New Horizon couldn't outrun both of them. "Ideas?" Lisa asked. Jake studied the tactical display. "Alex, can you get us close to those two ships?" "Close enough to ram one of them, maybe. Do it, but at the last second, activate our emergency thrusters on full power." Alex understood immediately. He piloted the ship directly between the two Zephyrian cruisers. They converged on the humans, expecting an easy kill. At the last possible moment, Alex fired every thruster the ship had. The New Horizon shot forward like a rocket. The two Zephyrian ships committed to their attack course crashed into each other with spectacular results. Crystal formations shattered in brilliant explosions as both vessels tumbled away from the battle. "That's 3 enemy ships disabled," Cooper announced with amazement. Around them, the larger battle had stopped. Both fleets floated in space, staring at the impossible sight of a single human ship that had just crippled 3 advanced warships, using nothing but desperate creativity. The New Horizon hung motionless in space, its hull scarred and smoking from battle damage. Every system was overloaded or destroyed, but the ship was still intact, still fighting. Admiral Lisa Thompson activated their emergency beacon. Her voice carried across the silent battlefield. "This is Admiral Thompson of the human vessel New Horizon. We came here to save civilian lives that both your fleets were willing to sacrifice. We didn't ask for this fight, but we won't back down from it either." The refugee convoy had escaped to safety during the confusion. 50,000 lives had been saved. But now the humans faced 2 entire fleets that were very interested in the species that had just done the impossible. "What happens now?" Jake asked. Lisa looked at the tactical display showing thousands of alien ships surrounding their damaged vessel. "Now we find out what kind of galaxy we really live in." Silence spread across the battlefield like a wave. For the first time in galactic history, 2 massive fleets stopped fighting to stare at something they couldn't understand. The New Horizon floated alone in the middle of the war zone. Its hull was blackened and scarred from battle. Smoke leaked from damaged sections. Half the ship's systems were offline. But somehow, impossibly, it was still there. Admiral Lisa Thompson sat in her command chair watching the tactical display. Thousands of ships surrounded them, Zephyrian crystal formations and Krilltalk swarm groups all pointing weapons at her small vessel. But nobody was shooting. "Communications are down," Lieutenant Ben Cooper reported. "The electromagnetic pulse weapon destroyed our entire array." "Visual signals only then," Lisa replied. "Light patterns, thruster burns, anything to communicate." Commander Alex Rivera worked at his damaged navigation console. "Admiral, both fleets are requesting communication. They want to talk." Dr. Helen Wade looked up from her engineering station. "I can probably restore short-range communications for a few minutes. But it'll drain our emergency power." "Do it." Helen worked quickly with burned circuits and melted components. After several minutes, she managed to establish a weak communication link. The first voice came from the Zephyrian formation leader. The crystalline being's tone had changed from cold authority to something like confusion. "Human vessel, explain your actions. Your behavior violates all known patterns of military logic," the Krilltalk commander's voice followed. Harsh clicks translated into human words. "Small ship, you fought well. But why did you protect the weak ones? Strong creatures do not risk themselves for inferior species." Lisa activated what remained of their communication system. "This is Admiral Thompson. We protected the refugees because they were innocent people in danger. That's what decent beings do." The response was immediate and came from multiple sources. Different alien voices spoke at once, creating a chorus of confusion and disbelief. "Protecting strangers serves no tactical advantage. Risking military assets for civilians is inefficient. Your species must have defective programming. This behavior pattern is unknown in galactic databases. Jake Martinez listened to the alien voices with growing understanding. These species, for all their advanced technology and military power, simply couldn't grasp the concept of self-sacrifice for strangers. They don't understand, he said quietly to Lisa. It's not that they're evil. They just think differently than we do. Captain Jake activated his personal communicator and spoke to both fleets. To all vessels, this is Captain Martinez. My species believes that protecting innocent life is more important than following military rules. We couldn't watch thousands of refugees die just because it was inconvenient to save them. More alien voices responded, but now with something that sounded like genuine curiosity rather than anger. Define innocent life. All species are potential enemies or resources. Explain tactical value of preserving inferior genetics. Why risk superior specimens for defective ones? Dr. Helen managed to boost their signal strength. Lisa's voice carried clearly across the battlefield. Because every life has value. Because strength without compassion is just brutality. Because someone has to stand up for those who can't protect themselves. The communication channels fell silent for several long moments. Jake could imagine thousands of alien minds trying to process concepts that their species had never developed. The first response came from an unexpected source. A small Krilltalk vessel, probably a scout ship, broke from its formation and approached the new horizon. Its pilot's voice was younger than the fleet commander's. Human ship, you fought my people and protected others at the same time. This is interesting. What do you call this behavior? Doing the right thing, Jake replied. Right thing? Explain this concept. Lisa smiled despite their desperate situation. Some actions are correct not because they benefit us, but because they help others. We call these actions right or moral. More ships began breaking from their formations, not to attack but to get closer to the humans. Alien vessels from both fleets moved carefully toward the new horizon, their crews apparently fascinated by this new concept. A Zephyrian science vessel transmitted, "Human specimens. Our databases contain no references to altruistic behavior in warfare. You have introduced a variable that our tactical computers cannot process." "Good," Lisa replied. "Maybe your computers need to learn new variables." The communication channels suddenly filled with dozens of alien voices asking questions. Do all humans behave this way? Is self-sacrifice a species trait or individual choice? How does your military function if soldiers protect enemies? What tactical advantage does morality provide? Jake found himself answering as best he could. Not all humans are the same. Some are selfish, some are brave, some are cowards. But most of us believe that protecting innocent people is worth some risk. Even if those people are not your species? Especially then. It's easy to protect your own family. It takes real courage to protect strangers. Dr. Helen had been monitoring their systems while the conversation continued. "Admiral, we're getting some very strange readings." "What kind of readings?" "Ships are powering down their weapons. Both fleets. They're not threatening us anymore." Jake looked at the tactical display. Helen was right. The massive formations of warships were still surrounding them, but the energy signatures of charged weapons were disappearing one by one. A new voice joined the conversation. It belonged to the Zephyrian Fleet Admiral, the highest-ranking crystalline being in the formation. Human vessel New Horizon. "You have introduced a concept that challenges fundamental assumptions about warfare and species interaction. We've just shown you that there are other ways to think about conflict." Lisa replied, "Indeed. We propose a temporary cessation of hostilities while we study this phenomenon." The Krilltalk fleet commander's voice came through with what might have been respect. "Human ship, you proved strength in battle, but you also showed strength in protecting the weak. This is a new kind of strength. We will consider it." More alien voices joined the discussion. Species from the observation vessels were adding their own questions and comments. What had started as a battle was becoming the galaxy's first philosophy conference. "Admiral," Cooper announced, "I'm receiving messages from the refugee convoy. They made it to safety at Kepler 7 station. Any casualties?" "None. All 57 ships arrived safely with everyone aboard." Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Whatever happened to them now, the refugees were alive. The conversation with the alien fleets continued for hours. Both sides asked endless questions about human morality, ethics, and decision-making. They seemed particularly fascinated by the idea that humans would risk their lives for people they had never met. Your species is either very wise or very foolish, observed the Zephyrian. Admiral, maybe we're both, Lisa replied. Perhaps wisdom and foolishness are closer than we assumed. As the hours passed, something unprecedented began to happen. Ships from both fleets started communicating with each other, instead of just with the humans. They discussed the concepts they had learned, comparing notes and asking each other questions. They're talking to each other, Alex observed with amazement. More than that, Helen added, look at the formation patterns. They're not arranged for battle anymore. She was right. The careful military formations had dissolved into loose groups of ships from both species, mixed together in patterns that would have been impossible during active warfare. A message came from the observation fleet, the mechanical voice of a robotic delegate. Human vessel, the Galactic Council has convened an emergency session to discuss today's events. Your actions have created unprecedented situations that require new legal frameworks. Are we in trouble? Jake asked. Unknown. No galactic laws exist for this type of intervention. Council must create new laws to address moral warfare. The communication channels buzzed with activity as various species debated the implications of human behavior. Some voices expressed admiration, others confusion, and a few showed what might have been fear. If one species can act this way, asked a tentacled alien, what does it mean for the rest of us? Are we all lacking something important? Perhaps, replied a crystalline voice. We have been fighting for so long that we forgot why fighting matters. Admiral Lisa Thompson listened to the galactic debate surrounding her ship. The New Horizon was still damaged and barely functional, but they had accomplished something much more significant than saving refugee lives. They had given the galaxy a new idea. Admiral, Jake said quietly, what do we do now? Lisa looked at the thousands of ships surrounding them, all engaged in conversations that would have been impossible before today. Now we go home and try to explain to Earth what we just started. And what did we start? I'm not sure, but I think we just taught the galaxy how to be human. The battle that was supposed to end a century-long war had instead become the beginning of something entirely new. In the depths of space, surrounded by alien fleets that had stopped trying to kill each other, 5 humans in a damaged ship had changed the course of galactic history, and they had done it simply by doing what they thought was right.